Hello. Are you enjoying a good weekend? It's Saturday in Korea. I think it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or is it 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Anyway, it has perfect weather to walk, and it's so breezy, and it's not too hot, it's not too cold. I mean, it is May, for God's sake. So good. And today, come walk with me. And I think it's a good time to talk about who I am. When I went to the States, when I came back to Korea, and why I came back, and how the life in the States and how the life in Korea is different. And I mean, of course, I cannot talk about this all in one video, so I'll probably jot it down to several different videos in series. But today, I can talk about when I went and when I came back and why I came back. I went to, let me set my camera somewhere. I think it's gonna tip over. It's so windy today. I went to the United States back in 2001 when I just turned 16. I wasn't prepared at all. Just out of nowhere, my father came one day and he's like, "Do you want to go to States and study there?" I'm like, "Hell yeah." So he's like, "Okay, you're going then." I was like, "Okay, I'm going then." So that was in May, and then in August I was already in Texas. My first state in the United States was Texas, and I stayed there about 10 months, only for one school year. And that's how my life in the United States started. And I came back to Korea in second half of 2016. So I stayed in the United States full 15 years. And by the time I came back to Korea, I spent exactly half of my life in the United States and half of my life in Korea. So basically, I spent all my adolescent years in the United States, went to school there, and worked there, had all my friends there, blah, blah, blah. And for all those years, I never thought I would come back to Korea, because, you know, when you spend that much time, early stages of your life, you don't really expect to come back to your home country. I think it's more natural to think that you will stay in that country forever, make a home there, make a family, and settle down there. I think that's more of a usual course, unless something happens, like unless you're forced to go back to your country, or, you know, unless there is legal issues or family issues and things like that. And same for me. I thought I would never come back to Korea. I loved staying in the States. I loved having independent life over there. I didn't have to ask for anything and blah blah blah. So I was content. I don't want to say I'm happy. I was happy because I was not 100% happy, but I was pretty much satisfied with what I was enjoying there. And I loved the opportunities I had there. But by the time, like, the time came, like, I don't know how else to say it. Just one day, it was time to come back to Korea. I think the last trigger point for me to think that, okay, it is time, I need to go back home and be with my parents, was the fact that I get to see a lot of people around me going through very hard time. And it's not like financial difficulties or anything like that. It had a lot to do with their aging parents. Um, like last 6 months of my life in States, so many of my acquaintances they got the news from Korea that their parents are um, they might not make for another month or two. They may pass away within a day or two, things like that. And a lot of times things escalated so quickly they didn't expect it, any of these. So it was a shock for them, and because they wanted to be with their parents on their deathbed, they tried to book a flight. And the particular town I was staying, they had one direct flight to Korea every day, like once a day. And it was like morning flight. And usually when they get the news, it's like right around 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and they try to call the travel agency right after they open or even before they open in a hope of that if they call earlier, they can like they can get back to Korea earlier also. But by the time they call travel agency and try to book a flight, it's already too late for that day flight. So the earliest you can get on the flight heading back home is the next morning. And that takes up, the flight time is about like 15, 16 hours. And by the time you land in the Incheon airport, which is the international airport in Korea, it's already evening time of the next day. So it takes about 3 days from the moment you hear the news and to the moment that you will arrive and meet with your family. And a lot of things can happen in 3 days, especially when things are that urgent. And if they're lucky, they can make it to the funeral. If they are not, they even miss their memorial service, and it's devastating. And it gave me a wake-up call, because I always thought that we live in a world that I can get anywhere, any part of this world if I have will and money. And apparently that's not true unless you have a private jet that can get off and land anytime you want, only according to your schedule. That is just impossible. The flight schedule is not, it's not in your favor. And yeah, that gave me a wake-up call that my parents are getting older. It's not like they're getting any younger, they're only getting older. And I can never promise that my parents will always be strong and healthy and always be alive for me and wait for me. One day they will pass away. One day they will get weaker and older and not so healthy, and I may want to be with them. And there's a good possibility that I cannot be there on time if I were to stay in States and if they were to stay in Korea, because they actually came to the States to stay with me while I was in high school, so I don't have to be alone. And they went back to Korea and saying I'm glad we were able to spend those years with you, but the life in States is not for us. We're going to go back to Korea. You can always come visit us. And I agreed with them. It was unfair for them to be in a country they cannot communicate in their own language and feel like they cannot be independent adult that can be reliable. They have to rely on me, who was only 16 years old, for all the things that has to be done through the offices and government, and even for the bills. I had to take care of them because it was just impossible for them to take care of any of these without being able to speak English freely, and I was able to help them. So I thought that was very unfair for them, and I actually felt pretty tired helping them all the time after school. So I was like, yeah, I think it's good for both of us. And then time passed, and then I get to see those things happen to my acquaintance. And you know what? Maybe it's a time to go back to my parents and stay with them, and not regret at the end. Like I should have spent more time with my parents and family. I didn't want to do that. So one day I wake up and decided that I need to go back to Korea. So I packed my bags, sold everything I had in my apartment, and came back to Korea with my cat. I kept my cat. I sold everything and I kept my cat. And he's still with me today. But yeah, I had two large luggage with me, and that's everything I brought back to Korea after 15 years in States. And since then, I'm here. And how do I like in Korea? I like it. I'm actually pretty satisfied. I'm going to talk about more in detail on like how's the life in States and Korea are different. But in a rough picture, that I thought I was doing fine adjusting to the society in States, and I'm pretty sure I did. But I guess I had this feeling that I never felt safe, and I never felt like I never really felt part of the society, and never really felt like that was like home, even though my apartment was my home, but the country was not my home almost. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that my parents were not with me. I mean, it sounds strange because you're all grown up, you're a big girl, like deal with it. Yeah, that's true. But being 18 years old doesn't magically make you an adult over one night. It really doesn't. Like, there's a lot of times that I'm a pretty independent person, and I can do a lot of things on my own. And if I run into a problem, I try to figure out how to solve a problem and do it. And that had been my life for all those 15 years in States. But at the same time, it's nice to have someone who went through it before you. Like, oh honey, if you run into this kind of problem, it's good to go to this person, go to this part of the office and ask for this kind of help. Don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. It's good to have those kind of comfort every now and then, but being the adult, the only adult who can solve that problem at that moment in your household, makes it impossible to feel that way. Like, yes, I had good adults around me who were willing to help me, but it's like I didn't know what to ask for, and they didn't know what I was going through. So put those together, it's like perfect to be, go through everything in a hard way. So it made me stronger, of course. It made me stronger, and it made me more independent, and it gave me confidence that, like, wherever I go, I'll make it work, and I'll survive. But at the same time, I was always in the corner, looking my back, like never be able to really relax and feel safe by myself, because we need protection, whether we're like 18 years old or 25 or 35. We still need that protection that we only get from our family and from our friends. It's not like, I'm not saying I didn't have family support or I never had friend support, but it's a different kind because they don't know what I'm going through. Everybody has a different situation, and as each person's situation is closer to each other, it's easier to understand what they would probably go through. But if it's so different, you just don't know. You can only assume, and that assumption is usually wrong, which is the worst part. So, yeah, that was that was that was my time in States. But when I came back in Korea and actually like settled down, all of a sudden I felt so peaceful in my mind, and I felt like I finally rooted down somewhere. So I was like, oh, maybe all those years I was not feeling so safe. And maybe I was always so tensed and always on a fight or flight stage. And maybe that made my life so much harder. And I didn't know this until I came back to Korea and really settled down and had a moment to look back on my life. So, yeah. After that, I'm like, you know what? I really like staying in Korea. I mean, I know things could have been different if I were married and have kids and, you know, make families in States and really settle down there. But that wasn't the case for me. I didn't have anybody I was seeing. I didn't have kid. I still don't. But I didn't have kid. So it's not like I was really making a life for me in a real sense. I was just living there as a resident. So that's why I came back to Korea, and I actually enjoy it. But did I hate my life in the United States? No. I enjoyed it as it was. And I always want to go back and see my friends and visit the places I used to live and have the food I used to enjoy, because oh my gosh, sometimes I really miss food over there. When I was there, I really miss food in Korea, but now that I'm back in Korea, I really miss food over there. Yeah, just like any other foreigners in foreign countries, I went through the same thing. And do I regret coming back to Korea? Not really. Do I want to go back to United States? Someday I may. But it's not like I cannot stand living in Korea, or it's not like I have to go back to United States. It's not like that. It's more like I'm gonna see where the life takes me, and I'm gonna see how it works out. And I think I'm happier that way, rather than like it has to be a certain way. So happy as am I. Happy as I am. Oh my gosh, my grammar is horrible now. And right now, since I'm just trying to go back to school and become a pharmacist, once I do, I'm gonna go back to States for sure, and then get the United States board for pharmacist as well. And that'll give me more opportunities when it comes to choose where I want to stay for the rest of my life. Do I want to go back and forth? Or do I want to just choose one country and only stay there? Right now, if anyone asks me, I am happy where I am. But at the end, I want to be able to go back and forth as I like. And not be able to restrict it by my job or anything. So my goal is to have financial freedom, so I don't have to be bound anywhere, and be wherever I want, be with whomever I want. So yeah, that's why I'm going back to school. So if you like my channel, come back and hear my story again. Next time I'm going to talk about how what was my life back in the United States really like, and what I liked and what I hated, and the process of getting used to the life in the United States and everything. So anyway, that's a story for next time. And I'll see you next time. Bye.